This is the story of my first out-of-body experience. Hi guys, and welcome back to yet another video. This video I'm going to be talking about my first out-of-body experience. I know that I've talked about this previously in a live video before, but I wanted to go more in depth and tell you guys the whole story. That way you guys can get a little bit of inspiration for your out-of-body experiences, and maybe it will help you figure out what you've been doing wrong and what you've been doing right when it comes to inducing an out-of-body experience. So I remember having spontaneous lucid dreams and out-of-body experiences when I was a child, but as I got older I had less and less experiences because I wasn't practicing this skill and working with this skill. So this experience I'm about to tell you was when I was starting from the beginning. I wasn't having all these spontaneous experiences because this happened when I was a little bit older, and I did have to do lots of techniques and kind of figure out what works and what didn't work to induce this experience and the other experiences that I started having after this. I was probably consistently practicing for like a month or two before I had this experience, so there is no timeline to when you can have an out-of-body experience or an astral projection. It could be 2 days, it could be 3 months, it really doesn't matter. It's up to you and when you find what works. I went to bed with the intention to have an out-of-body experience. I knew that I was going to wake myself up in the middle of the night. That way I could stay up for a few minutes and go back to sleep, or at least trick my body into thinking I was sleeping and just lay there and induce sleep paralysis. That was the plan. I was going to wake up at like 4 in the morning because that would put me in my REM stage. I calculated the time that I needed to wake up for this experience, and so I went to bed with the intention. And my alarm does go off at about 4 a.m. So I turn off my alarm. It's completely black in my room. All I do is sit up, because if I just turn off my alarm and lay back down, I'm going to go right back to sleep. But if I get out of bed and move around and do all this stuff, I'm not going to be able to go back to sleep. So it's like you kind of got to find a balance with this and not fall asleep and not be wide awake. So I decided just to lay in bed in the dark room and just kind of sit there and relax, but stay conscious for like 5 to 10 minutes before I lay back down. So the time passes, I stay awake, it's been like 5 to 7 minutes, I decide to lay back down on my back, and I'm going to just close my eyes and completely relax. When you're inducing an out-of-body experience, you don't want to have your arms folded, you don't want to be turned over to the side, you want to be completely flat, because you're going to want to try to zone out so much that you can't feel your body. That's one of the goals with inducing an out-of-body experience, is you want to disassociate from your physical body, which means you don't want to feel your body laying down. But if you're folding your arms, or you're in a kind of weird position, or you have blankets on that are super tight, or you're scrunching your toes with the blankets, you're not going to be able to tune out. So make sure you're completely comfortable. I just lay my arms out and my legs out, and I make sure I have like a light blanket on. I'm not cold, I'm not hot. Like, you have to really take into account what you're doing in the moment and if it's going to affect you having an out-of-body experience. I laid back down, completely relaxed, started to take these deep breaths. I take these really deep breaths as soon as I lay down because it puts me in this zone. I can relax, and like as soon as you breathe out, I just imagine me sinking into the bed. So I was doing this for maybe like 5 minutes. Then I went into a weird dream where I heard my little sister in my room, which was really odd because she doesn't live with me. And so in my dream, it was almost like a false awakening. In my dream, I was still laying in bed trying to have an out-of-body experience, but I opened my eyes and my little sister was in the room, and I was like, how did you get here? She lives like an hour away, so it was really, really confusing how she got in the room. My little sister was piling like winter jackets and coats on top of me in this dream, this weird dream that I was having. And that was actually because I was going into sleep paralysis. So my chest was slightly collapsing, but since I was in the dream, my brain didn't know what was happening, so it made up a scenario or a story to go along with the sensation I was feeling. So my sister was piling all these jackets and coats on me in my weird dream, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm awake. My eyes are closed, but I'm in sleep paralysis and I am awake. I kind of woke up from that dream without like opening my eyes or anything, so I'm sitting there in sleep paralysis, but I still feel these jackets and these coats being put on me, and my eyes are closed, but I can hear my sister saying, Haley, look, look, and she wanted me to look at her trying on the clothes or the coats that she was wearing. Keep in mind, this is all a hallucination in the sleep paralysis at this point. It was a dream that I went into, but once I woke up, this is all part of the sleep paralysis hallucination. So this can get super real. Like, it can literally feel like there's other people in your room. I could feel my sister poking me. I could hear her talking to me in my ear. It felt like she was right there, but that was just all part of the sleep paralysis hallucination. Even the coats, like the heavy jackets, I could hear them, I could feel them. The sleep paralysis experience will probably be intense for you, but it's not scary. To me, it's just really interesting how it all happens, but it's gonna be intense, so just prepare for that. Don't be scared, don't show fear, don't try to get out of the experience because you got this far to induce it. So just know that it's gonna be fine, you're completely safe. It's okay. The point of the story is that it's fine, you're gonna be fine, everything's gonna be fine. So after a while, I stopped hearing my sister and it just felt like a heaviness on my chest. I didn't feel any coats or feel any jackets or coats being put on me by my sister at this point. It was just kind of vibrating. Like, if you've ever had sleep paralysis before, it feels like vibration. Your whole body is vibrating and shaking at a really rapid, intense rate. Like, if you've ever had the sleep paralysis experience, you know how intense it could be. And since this is my first out-of-body experience that I had it, like, consciously, that I was inducing at will, it was really strong. The sleep paralysis vibrations were so strong, and as you do it over time, like the more you get used to it, a lot of people experience less vibrations, but your first experiences, they're most likely going to feel really intense with the sleep paralysis. So I was like, the whole bed was vibrating. I heard these really high pitched noises in my ears. Like, it was the craziest sounds you've ever heard. And it sounded like a train, like on train tracks right next to your ear, like a jet engine. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like really, really loud, intense noises and vibrating. And this happens to me still, not as strongly as this experience, but I remember this experience like it was clear as day. At this point, I was freaking out in the experience because this is the farthest I've gotten. I've been practicing for like a month or two straight, like every single day, and I was meditating every single day, trying to just imagine leaving my body, like practicing the whole mindset of having an out-of-body experience. So the fact that it was happening now, I was literally freaking out. It was really intense, and I honestly did not expect it to be this intense. So my thought process was just calm down, it's gonna be fine, just calm down. So I was sitting there just trying not to mess it up. All of a sudden I felt like electricity through my whole body. It's so hard to explain, but I specifically remember feeling it in my eyelids, like electricity running through my eyelids and through every part of my body. It was like the most cosmic, weird feeling to be in this sleep paralysis, like coming out of your body. And this was to the point where I started to imagine leaving my body, and this electricity, this like electric feeling got really, really strong. So to leave my body, I still do this. It's called the rollout method. You literally just imagine rolling out of your body. It's so easy. You don't have to imagine a rope or just floating above your body. We roll out of bed every single day to get out of bed, so that's the easiest for me to imagine. So I just rolled out of bed, or at least I was imagining that, and nothing was happening at first, and I was like, okay, I know that this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to just imagine rolling out of bed as vividly as you can, and it's gonna work. I kept doing it. I was seeing tons of colors all over my closed eyelids. It was a really intense experience, you guys. All of a sudden, I felt something. I felt my legs starting to like move off the bed. At this point, I was actually like freaking out because I was like, I had to know that I was having an out-of-body experience when I was shifting out of my body, but for some reason I was like, am I falling off the bed? Is the bed like tipping? Is it like, how is the whole house just like, I couldn't comprehend why I was slipping off the bed. It just felt so real. I thought I was literally actually slipping off the bed because it was just like so real. So I kept going. It started to get really intense. I literally felt like I was like halfway in my body or on the bed slipping off. I felt like I was just like slipping off, and I was like in peanut butter or something. It was like the weirdest feeling and like motion, and that should have told me right then and there. Like, that should have just confirmed for me this is an out-of-body experience, because this is not what it feels like to move. Like, it's a lot easier to move. It was like so weird. And then all of a sudden, and by the way, I had a sleeping mask on this time. I don't know if I said that, but that is probably an important part to remember, because at this point I started to see my room, and I was like, oh my god, my eyes are open, I'm gonna ruin the experience, I need to close my eyes, because all of a sudden I just saw my room and it felt like my eyes were like pried open, like literally pried open. And I was like, why did I open my eyes? Like, I need to close my eyes. But then I felt the sleeping mask on my face and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, am I seeing my freaking room around me? And that's when I knew, like, oh my god, I'm seeing through my astral eyes. I'm seeing through my astral awareness. So I knew that I was separating at that point because I could see my room and I could see everything around me. And all of a sudden I started to hear voices. Like, my whole room kind of lit up at that point because I was halfway out of my body, right? Because my leg was slipping off the bed. I was like halfway out, and then all of a sudden I can see my whole room, and it sounded like 3 people talking on like a radio show or something. It was like 2 men and a female, 2 men and 2 females, and they were all talking to each other. And I couldn't see anyone, but it was literally like I could hear voices clear as day. Like, sounded like there was a radio station thing going on in my room, if that makes sense. It just sounded like there's a lot of people talking, having conversation. It sounded like it was on radio. I didn't know what was happening, and I started to ask questions, but in my mind, like, just like random questions. I don't know what sparked me to do this, but I was asking just like random personal questions in my life, and they would actually answer me. So I would ask them in my head and I would hear the answer out loud. And I don't know who these people were. I don't know if they were like my spirit guides or someone. I have no idea. I just heard these voices as I was going out of body, which was really, really interesting. All of a sudden I started to slip off my bed, and as a kid, I had a really big fear of like the dark and like under my bed, because I had a lot of paranormal experiences that I couldn't explain as a child that like made me scared of like dark places. Also, I lived in like a really haunted house, and I don't use the word haunted lightly because I'm really into paranormal stuff, and I don't believe that just because a place is paranormally active it means it's haunted. And I don't use, like I said, I don't use the word haunted lightly, but that house that I lived in as a child was haunted. So that's probably why I had such a fear of all these different things. And when you're in the astral realm, your fears manifest. And so I felt my body slipping, and I kept saying, please don't take me under the bed, please don't take me under the bed, please don't take me under the bed, because I knew I didn't really have control over my body. It seemed like I was just going to be thrown around. Like, I didn't have a control over where my body was slipping or where I was going when I was slipping out. Like, I couldn't control anything. And that's what manifested. Since I was thinking about under the bed, I literally got pulled out of my body. Something like span me around on the floor a million times. Like, I was like going, it's the weirdest thing. I know this sounds crazy, but it's not just all like chill when you go out of body. It's not like, oh, you always have control. Like, no, sometimes it feels like you're walking for the first time. Like, you're not going to have a lot of control the first experience you have, probably. Because mine, I wasn't even standing on my feet. It felt like I was laying down because I was like at view with the floor. Like, I could see from the floor point of view, which is really weird. And I just kept getting spun around. I don't feel anything either. I'm just like observing all this happen, but like being a part of it. It's really, I hope this makes sense. It's like a really weird feeling to be out of body. And then I just shoot under the bed, and it was fine. I was really scared of it because it was really dark, but it was fine. And I just remember after a while everything like fading, and I like woke up in my bed and I took my sleeping mask off, and I was like, what the hell just happened? So like, even though like I didn't travel and go to extravagant places on my first, in my first out-of-body experience, I did get pretty far. A lot of people don't get out of their body their first experience because it's a really intense sensation to vibe with and to feel out, and there's a lot of mental control that takes place when you're having an out-of-body experience. So in every experience you have, you're going to learn more and more and more, and what you could have done, what you should do next time. Like, the more experience you have and the more you practice, you're going to learn what works for you and what you need to do differently next time. And so that's exactly what I did. I was like, okay, next time I need to calm down because that was a really intense experience. Next time I need to think about what I want to experience and not just be like, okay, don't do this. Obviously nothing's gonna hurt you. So me going under the bed, I was gonna be fine anyway. But really just mental focus, like, on what you want to experience. So I hope this experience helped you. I know it was a little bit like long-winded, but I wanted to give you guys as much detail as possible because I know that it's probably important to hear my experiences. I'm teaching you guys about how to have these experiences, so it's important for me to share my experiences. So let me know if you have any questions about this. If you're working on having an out-of-body experience, let me know what questions you have, or if you learned anything about my experience that I shared today, or if you've had any similar experiences like the one that I shared today. If you guys want to learn how to lucid dream in 30 days or less, you can check out my 40-part lucid dreaming video course in the description. It's only going to be up for about another month because I'm releasing my other course soon. So if you've been wanting to get into my lucid dream course, now is the time. You have a limited amount of time now, so definitely let me know if you are interested in that, or just check out the link for it in the description. And if you enjoy the content I create and get something from the content I create, make sure to subscribe to this channel. That way you don't miss out on any content that comes out. Alright guys, leave in the comments down below your favorite out-of-body experience or your first out-of-body experience. I would love to hear about it. I think the first experiences are the best. They're so intense. So I'd love to hear about them. Just leave them in the comments and I'll check them out. Alright guys, thanks so much for joining. I love you so much, and as always, I'm sending you endless love and endless lucidity.